lost my apartment, wound up homeless. And this is like right after surgery. I'm in pain. I can barely walk. I am just gonna jump right into this video. So 2024, I was working for JP Morgan Chase. I was working on the Chase side as a travel agent. I was IATN certified, and it was one of the worst experiences of my life. I would wish that job on any black woman, not even my worst fucking enemy, honestly. It was incredibly stressful. The sexism, the racism was out of control. Denied a promotion because I wouldn't fuck. It was a lot. So around that time, though, the stress was a problem. But not only just the stress, but I was at the time dealing with heavy, heavy, heavy periods. And I mean like heavy and very painful. And I didn't really know what was going on, nor did I have the time to check and see what was really going on until I was forced to sit my ass down and go and check it out. One day I woke up after a very heavy period and I could barely walk, bleeding way too much. I'd bled out of my bed. And I'm sorry for any men that have clicked on this video. It's gonna be sorry. But yeah, I had bled out of my bed. I could hardly sit down, and it was because I could feel a lot of like fluid. I don't know how else to explain it, but fluid, um, bloating. And I was throwing up. I didn't know what was happening. And eventually it got so bad to the point where I just had to take myself to the emergency room. Now, at the time, I was living in Texas. Drove myself to Texas. And come to find out, I had a ruptured cyst. It had already ruptured from a workout that I had done. And I remember feeling like crap immediately after I did it. I was so obsessed with losing weight at that time that it backfired terribly. I went, like I said, to the emergency room. They had that long thing for the intravaginal ultrasound. They told me I had to get that. And they don't stick that whole long thing up you, of course, but just seeing that shit is uncomfortable. Just having even a little piece of that is uncomfortable. The fact that we women still have to deal with that is ridiculous, honestly. But I got my little intravaginal ultrasound. They let me know you have a ruptured cyst. It's already ruptured. So what you're feeling is a lot of the free fluid just basically there waiting to be absorbed back into your uterus or your lining. I also had some sort of clot. And I had another cyst that was waiting to burst. So, which I gotta say this, it was so interesting hearing this because for the longest I had been going to certain doctors when I was able to and letting them know like something's not right. I'm having these symptoms, I'm feeling like this, feeling like that. And to be told that it's in your mind or hey, you just need to get on birth control to control your periods. Like, no, it was more, but they don't listen to you. So, and a few post production add ons to the video. I was diagnosed with endometriosis, so that was a factor. So, endometriosis, ruptured cyst, another one that was waiting to burst, on top of already having kind of crazy irregular periods. And then them checking my ovaries, and one side was perfect, the other side needed they were going to have to go in and do surgery. So yeah, I just wanted to add that in there. After that, I had already been out for I believe at least maybe 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks at JP Morgan Chase. I had already been out for some time. I was filing a claim through Sedgwick, and shitty company. Oh my god. I hate them with my entire fucking soul. They are so fucking evil. But filed a claim with Sedgwick for short-term disability because I needed that time off. They told me like you need to heal. You need to go and you need to see a doctor. You need surgery and you need to heal. So when I was told I would need surgery and that I would have to take time off, I let them know. They didn't give a shit. not at all. Now, mind you, I was already on the edge of a nervous breakdown with this job. Like, when I say teetering at the very edge of losing my like, my mental state was not where it should have been. I was going through a lot at that time mentally, and it was to the point of like having thoughts, you know? Yeah. Anyway, I let them know they did not care. And it was to the point where and then Sedgwick, of course, denied my claim because why not? Um, so that happened. And then what I wound up doing was quitting. I quit. I left. I got the surgery that I needed. Oh, I skipped over a part. Um, they also canceled my insurance. So, ironically, JP Morgan Chase managed to cancel my insurance when I needed it the most. But that is not something I'm completely confused about because, like I said, I had been off for about 2 to 3 weeks at that time, and I think that they were waiting on a payment or something. I don't know. It was auto drafted out of my check normally, and they were just like, "Girl, we don't give it. Where's the money?" So they canceled it when I needed it the most. Went on to quit. I left that job. I got my surgery, applied for unemployment. However, unemployment did not cover the bills that I had. My bills laughed at that check, as a matter of fact. At that time, I was paying car notes, rents, like I had bills like everybody does. And I hate the whole bull crap of Texas is cheap. Texas is not cheap. Texas ain't cheap by a long shot. It used to be, maybe, but it is not any longer. And it certainly wasn't back in 2024. So, yeah, lost my apartment, wound up homeless. And this is like right after surgery. I'm in pain. I can barely walk. This was a really hard time because I had never been in a situation where I needed anybody. I was so used to being self-sufficient. At that time, I had had a good job. I had a car. I had a place. So it was wrecking to me. It did a number on me. I wound up losing my apartment because I could not afford it anymore. I still had my car though, so I was splitting my time between literally living out of my car, Airbnbs, hotels, whatever was the cheapest at the time, and kind of just switching it up like that. I believe for like 3 nights a week I slept in my car, and then I would go to a hotel or an Airbnb for the remainder of the week or whatever. I was searching for work. Fast forward, I wound up landing a job in New Mexico. And honestly, that I don't even, I'm skipping over the fact that after my surgery, I had started smoking really bad, like really bad. I was in pain. I was depressed. I was ready to end it all, honestly. And on top of trying to work, trying to support myself, living out of my car, moving around a lot out of hotels, and just dealing with all of that, I got depressed and I started just heavily smoking, which was one reason that I did move to New Mexico because it was legal and cheap. And also, I had landed a job there that wouldn't drug test me for it. And I'm just being completely honest. That went okay for about a month. I was offered a place to stay at the hotel where I was working, and it was for nefarious reasons. I'll just put it that way. Very nefarious reasons. I wound up having the property manager try to assault me, basically. Tried to force himself in my room. All this craziness. So this wound up like a lot of this happened when I was really in a daze, trying to block out my own life, trying to block out my own feelings. But it was a big lesson for me, New Mexico, because I decided to take action after what happened, after the property manager tried to take advantage of me and my situation. I contacted the EEOC because right after I denied that person sex and I would refuse to sleep with them, they basically ended my employment. You know, it's like you can't be here anymore. Now I can't speak too much on that, so I'll try to dance around it a little bit without giving too much out because of the EOC agreement. But that person a few days later wound up getting walked off the property and fired anyway because I was not the first person he had tried to do that to. One, two, he was embezzling money, stealing from the property. And three, he had some questionable people and drugs and all that stuff. He had a lot going on that property. He wound up getting walked off, and someone else came and took over being the manager there. And they still allowed me to stay there, knowing what had just happened. They didn't put me out right away, thankfully. Now, excuse me, deny me employment. I took that to the EEOC and I won. Now, it didn't happen immediately, not at all. It took 8 months to a year for that to be settled and addressed. And during that 8 months to a year, I had moved back to Texas. And oh, I forgot my car. My car was literally on the verge of being repoed, so I went ahead and voluntarily gave that up. So I had no car at that point. So I had nothing, no place to live, no car, nothing. That family member was in Texas, so I wound up back in Texas, and I found not one job, y'all, not two jobs. I was hungry. I was working three jobs. I had two seasonal jobs and then one main job, and I was killing myself to try to get back to where I had been before I needed surgery, before the health scare, basically. And when I say killing myself, I mean killing myself. I wouldn't wish that on nobody. I wouldn't wish it on nobody. And this was my first time back in like non-corporate roles. I had been with JP Morgan for 4 or 5 years, so that was another adjustment. And going back to the whole JP Morgan situation and even the situation with the Marriott Hotel chain, um, all of that was documented, all of it. One thing that JP Morgan did not like was the fact that I was so vocal about everything that I went through. I put everything in writing. They hated that. They prefer that you, especially when you're a minority, that you shut the fuck up and you be happy that you got a job. I was not that person. I was working really hard. I did what I was supposed to do. So anytime I experienced something, not every single time, like small things, no, but when it became blatantly disrespectful, I reported it and they hated it. They did not like that. They didn't like that at all. And neither did the hotel company that I worked for, but that property manager, he had already dug himself into a hole before I got there. So it was like the moment I got there, he was already on the verge of being fired. He was already on the fence. And then, he took the advantage or he took the opportunity to try and take advantage of my situation. And then he was out the door. But they still didn't handle it the right way, which led me going to the EEOC and doing what I needed to do. And I just want to say that if any women go through anything, racism, sexism, white, black, I don't care who you are, you should report it. Make sure it's in writing, make sure you keep it in black and white, and make sure you take it to the EEOC. Don't let anybody make you feel bad for that. You're giving your time, your fucking health, your body, your mental state, all of this to a fucking job that could not care less about you. Please understand. I know. So I just wanted to insert that here. Oh, I don't even know where am I going from this. I worked those three jobs. and then eventually that season was over, and I was left with one job because two of those jobs I had was seasonal. I was left with one job. And then that family member decided they wanted to move back home and kind of build on me in the middle of nowhere. So I had to figure something out. And by that point, though, I had had a little bit from the three jobs. I'd saved a little bit from the three jobs that I had been working during that 9 months that I had been living with a family member, living basically in hotels and Airbnbs, bouncing around because I didn't have my car to live out of anymore. And I, uh, I, um, I stuck it out. I waited, and ironically, right after that family member left, and I was stuck trying to figure out what the hell am I going to do now. The EEOC contacted me, letting me know that the company, the little hotel that I worked at, wanted to mediate, and we had our mediation sessions, and then I settled to keep, don't sue us. Let's keep it quiet. Yeah, I feel like I flew through that with. Ugh, I flew through that story really fast, but I've been talking for 17 to 20 minutes, so who cares? Now, I no longer live in the US. I now live in Vietnam. So, and when I say live, I mean short term. You cannot live in Vietnam long term because they don't have a long term visa. So, after Vietnam, who knows? I will make another video about that and my experience here. This is just a little background on what being a fucking American is like. Getting sick, losing your job, losing your insurance, losing every fucking thing, and not being able to do a damn thing about it. You literally have to fight and climb and claw your way out of a hole. It's that. So if you have any questions or any comments, just leave them below. Thank you for watching if you made it this far, and I wish you the best.